Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Beginning in northeast Nebraska, where a man will be sentenced next month after being found guilty of murder. According to court records, Elias Reed pleaded no contest to 2 counts of first-degree murder. His trial was set to start July 14th. He was arrested in February of 2024 after the shooting deaths of 77-year-old Curtis Strom and 49-year-old William Reffett at Strom's bowling alley in Bloomfield. His plea deal came the same week that 29-year-old Kalen Swayze was sentenced to 5 to 10 years in prison for tampering and accessory charges. Reed's conviction carries with it a mandatory sentence of life in prison. He'll officially be sentenced July 29th. One of the Glen Valley Foods workers detained in that worksite immigration raid this month that ensnared nearly 80 people has been released on bond set by an immigration judge. The workers' attorney is telling the Nebraska Examiner they believe their client was the first of the detained Glen Valley employees to be released on bond. Other bond hearings are expected over the next few days and weeks. Attorneys say the next step for the released foreign-born workers to build a case for eligibility to remain in the country. The attorney said the firm's clients accused of a civil offense entering and working in the U.S. without authorization, which can lead to penalties like deportation. The final resolution of these cases can take years because of the court's backlog. President Donald Trump says he wants to sign his sweeping domestic policy legislation by Friday. Most Republican lawmakers rushing to try to oblige him, but they keep facing delays in the Senate. Amy Kiley has more on why the bill's future is still uncertain.
By no means is this bill final.
The fate of President Donald Trump's budget bill remains uncertain ahead of today's vote-a-rama in the Senate. Democrats are united in opposition.
A handful of billionaires get a big break, while working people lose their Medicaid, while hungry kids lose access to food funding.
Most Republicans are united in support of the bill.
We have before us today a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver legislation to create a safer, stronger, and more prosperous America.
But if more than 3 Republicans oppose the measure, it's likely to fail. Senator Tom Tillis says he'll vote no and retire at the end of his term.
What do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there?
Senator Rand Paul says he voted no to a procedural measure because he thinks the bill would add trillions to the deficit.
That doesn't sound at all conservative to me.
Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski wants carve-outs for her state. Maine Senator Susan Collins is signaling she'll propose an amendment. And Senator Josh Hawley says he'll vote yes, but
we can't be cutting health care for working people and for poor people in order to constantly give special tax treatment to corporations.
Amy Kiley reporting, News Channel Nebraska.
Congressman Don Bacon not seeking re-election to a 5th term. The Republican announced on Monday that he plans to retire from the U.S. House after 2026. The Air Force veteran has represented the so-called blue dot that includes many progressive voters around Omaha since 2016. He's been at the center of many debates in Congress, recently raising concerns over the spending package currently being debated in the U.S. Senate over its Medicaid provisions. He's not said yet, though, how he plans to vote if the bill is sent back to the House this week. As for the election, State Senator John Kavanaugh of Omaha has announced he does plan to run for the seat as a Democrat. A Southeast Nebraska state senator is seeking to keep her seat. Senator Jana Hughes of Seward announced Monday that she's running for re-election to her District 24 seat. That district encompasses Seward, York, Polk, and part of Butler counties. Hughes was first elected in 2022 after serving as a Seward school board member. Among her signature bills in the unicameral LB 303 this past session, which establishes a new 18-member commission designed to review Nebraska's school financing formula. So far, no other candidates have been announced. The Otoe County Democrats held their first public protest in the organization's 165-year history Friday, calling attention to the needs of rural health care. Dan Swanson has more.
Wes Halverson, president of the Otoe County Democrats, was among a dozen protesters in Nebraska City Friday, calling attention to impacts cuts in Medicaid and Medicare would have on nursing homes and hospitals in rural Nebraska.
We need more access to health care, not less, because we all care about our neighbors and loved ones. And our hospitals and our various health care services are already stretched pretty tight, and without that federal funding, it just makes it really hard for them to make it, and for all of us to be able to have accessible health care in rural Nebraska.
April Isaacs joined the afternoon protest, saying she wants to make sure politicians know that grandmas are among those unhappy with government dragging its feet or subverting issues after they have been approved by voter referendum. Many years ago, she participated in a sit-in at her high school, but says what is happening in the country in recent years is motivating her to come out despite the hot temperatures.
I protested the first time Trump was elected, and the second time what he's doing scares me even more.
Heidi Smith of Nebraska City organized the protest to show the people of southeast Nebraska they are not alone and can work together to bring change.
The protests are not just in the big cities, we're bringing it to rural Nebraska so that politicians see us, hear us, and can hopefully listen to us.
Janet Wright of Nebraska City said she fears that the new work requirements for Medicaid do not allow for intellectual disabilities. She said her son could not meet the 20-hour work week requirement without a job coach there with him the whole time. Even if there were a job coach available, she said the income would cause him to lose his supplemental Social Security income.
Work requirement is a real concern if it doesn't include invisible disability exemptions. It's just not feasible for millions of those on Medicaid with that situation.
Halverson said the number of people attending Otoe County Democrat meetings are growing, and rural health care is a common concern. From Nebraska City, I'm Dan Swanson, News Channel Nebraska.
State officials say thousands of dollars in paychecks were sent to dead Nebraskans last year. State Auditor Mike Foley Monday said an examination of state agencies revealed benefit payments and grants paid to former employees who were deceased. In one case, 13 benefit payments totaling almost $19,000 were sent to a former employee who died in April. Foley says the money has since been repaid, but he says his office referred that employee's daughter to law enforcement. Foley said his office's audit also found over $122,000 in tuition reimbursement that should have been repaid to the state, but wasn't. The return of retail fireworks sales over the past week comes after Nebraska lawmakers increased fire marshal fees this spring, many for the first time in nearly 4 decades. The increased fees associated with fireworks, the result of a new law passed by the unicameral this year. State Senator Dave Werdekemper of Fremont sponsored it at the request of the state fire marshal's office because some of the fees hadn't been changed since the 1980s. The Nebraska Examiner reports that the increases include seasonal retail license applications going up from $25 to $100 per stand. Distributors also have to pay $1,000 now instead of the previous $500, while those putting on a public show will have to pay $100 for a permit, as opposed to the previous fee of $10. The State Fire Marshal's office estimates collecting an additional $800,000 in revenue during the next fiscal year because of the fee increases. Now, the 4th of July and fireworks go hand in hand, but they can quickly turn dangerous, especially for young children, and local health experts are urging everyone to take precautions this holiday. Even seemingly harmless items like sparklers burn at nearly 2,000 degrees and account for over a quarter of all fireworks-related emergency room visits. The National Fire Protection Association says for kids under 5, that number jumps to nearly half. To stay safe, experts advise wearing closed-toed shoes, eye protection, and non-flammable clothing, and always keep water or a fire extinguisher nearby and never relight a dud.
First thing you'd want to do if you do have a burn injury in your family is to run it under cool water. You never want to use ice on any burns. And then if you are seeing any areas that are white, leathery, maybe lack sensation or feeling, you want to make sure you're getting those to the doctor right away to be seen. Anything involving hands, face, eyes, those would be a medical emergency, and those should see a care provider right away.
The National Fire Protection Association says there were 11 fireworks-related deaths nationwide last year. And a charity event in eastern Nebraska drew in people from across the globe. The Platte Valley Barbecue and Music Festival was held in Columbus over the weekend. Proceeds from the event went to local charities, and organizers say they plan to continue the festival for years to come.
Hundreds of people coming in to taste some amazing ribs, especially from Moonshine Barbecue, locals, as well as Awesome Aussie out of Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, so we're Awesome Aussie Australian Barbecue Company, and we have an Australian fruit-based barbecue concept, and so we use fruit woods, cherry and apple wood to smoke with, and then we have fruit-based barbecue sauces. So we have apple, orange, pineapple, and even raspberry in one of our barbecue sauces. So a little bit different, but not too far different. So we were fortunate enough to win People's Choice here, so happy to do that and come out with a win.
We have kind of decided that we want to be able to help the local causes. You know, so many people do big national things, but we are working, we had volunteers from Paws and Claws, we've had volunteers from Boy Scouts, Habitat for Humanity, some different local groups, and the money's going to stay right here local for that.
It really was built to help Columbus and Platte Valley. That's why their company is named Platte Valley Events Inc. It's to help underprivileged children, seniors, people that need some help. There's some amazing programs in this community. Unfortunately, they're a little underfunded and need a little financial help. So this type of festival really helps bolster that to help the community.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com, click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This is News Channel Nebraska.